I guess it's 7:05 p.m. I'll make a motion to open tonight's meeting.
I'll make a motion to open the meeting. Fred Monaco.
Well, I made the motion, so you're seconding, right, Fred?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll second the motion. I hear you, Katie. I'm sorry.
All right. And then roll call. Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Scott?
Scott DeCastro, aye.
And Katie O'Donnell, aye. All right. So I apologize. I'm sure you can hear angry sheep in the background. I moved locations a few times to try to get better Wi-Fi here. All right. So first thing tonight is we have A&R Timothy Connor off Plains. And we don't need to open.
Katie, you're cutting out a little.
All right. Hold on here.
Brian, do you
give me 1 second?
Yep. Fred, can you see the screen all right?
Me? Yeah, I can see it perfect.
Okay. Brian, are you going to be speaking on the A&R?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
So I just moved locations again. Is this any better?
Yep.
Great.
All right, Brian's ready to present for the A&R.
Okay. Brian Taylor from Stenbeck and Taylor presenting. So Franklin Realty Trust is Ed Perry's DBA. The property that is the northerly part of this property, the rectangle that's in yellow, and the southerly part that's in pink, not crosshatched. Right now, Ed owns that whole piece. Franklin Realty Trust owns that whole piece. Tim had sold it to him some years ago. They've reached a mutual agreement that Tim would like to get back that what's shown as lot 4 prime, the yellow crosshatch piece, in return for lot B prime, the pink crosshatch piece, which will become contiguous to Ed's remaining land. So it's a like-kind land area swap. Both houses are 25,380 square feet, and it will serve them both of their intended purposes on their land. Tim for farming, and Ed wants to do some more production work.
Okay. Greg, do you have anything more to add?
Just a reminder that this does not, the lots do not have frontage on Enterprise Drive. So that back parcel that's in pink would need a right-of-way in order to get legal frontage in the future.
It actually is owned contiguously with that parcel D90114, yeah, right there. That's Ed's studio. That's WATD. So,
but if they were to put a second building in, Brian, they would need to have.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's all I was trying to.
Yeah. You're absolutely
right. Okay.
You guys are okay to move forward with this A&R plan.
Okay. Are there any butters here? Anybody from the public who has any questions? Does anyone from the board have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the A&R plan for, do we have a set address? Sorry, Greg.
930, oh, sorry. Hold on 1 second. 795 Plain Street.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the A&R plan for 795 Plain Street. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Fred Monaco.
Okay. Roll call vote. Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Scott?
Scott DeCastro, aye.
And Katie O'Donnell, aye. All right. So that's
Katie,
that.
you want to take the sidewalk waiver ahead of the special permit or go to the special permit?
Sure. Yeah, let's do the sidewalk waiver first, and then because the special permit will be more discussion. So we have John Sherman Rights Way sidewalk waiver request.
Paul Driscoll was here. Oh, he's still here.
Okay.
Paul, you want to unmute?
Yeah, no, unmute. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I have a letter here stating that as trustee of Paris Realty Trust, you're requesting as a minor modification of the subdivision plan, a waiver of the requirement for the construction of sidewalks. And that would be conditioned upon a contribution to the town's sidewalk fund.
I understand. Yeah,
Okay. And I see that we have a figure for that, right, Greg?
Yep, 23,365.
Okay.
So we've had both Kevin Seelan and Pat Brennan look at it, and we have several different locations where because of changes on the properties as they were developed and stuff, the grades won't meet the ADA and are extremely difficult in order to try to now put in the concrete aprons for the sidewalks. So after talking to both Mr. Seelan and Pat, my recommendation was to go ahead and ask for the waiver for the sidewalk, not to be constructed, but to put the funds into the town sidewalk fund.
Okay. Any discussion from the board? Any discussion from the public? All right, that I'll make a motion to approve the minor, the sidewalk waiver request for John Sherman Rights Way in the amount of $23,365. Is there a second?
To be put in the sidewalk fund.
Oh, sorry. Yes, should be put in the sidewalk fund.
I second it, Fred Monaco.
Okay.
I
Roll call.
just wanted to ask a quick question.
Sorry, what was that? Sorry.
My name's Jordan Borchard. I live on the street.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers. It's more just out of curiosity. And I'm probably a little bit late on the party, but why can't those funds be allocated towards some other aspect of the subdivision?
So the sidewalk, how waivers are granted by the planning board on the subdivisions is on the sidewalk, there has been a longstanding town sidewalk fund, and it's being used for construction of new sidewalk elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't believe it can, because these are specifically sidewalk funds. They have to be spent on sidewalks, is my understanding.
Okay.
Can they be used in our general area, like off of Ferry Street, where we need sidewalks?
There is a town sidewalk plan, and there's been a long-standing planning board and DPW commitment towards Webster Street and Winslow Street are areas that are priorities. If other sidewalk opportunities come up, they would be reviewed as well.
Is that helpful?
Yeah.
I think we found it's like a lot of places in town, it's like we kind of end up with sidewalks to nowhere. So that's why we try to prioritize links and connections that are going to, make the most impact, since we have to prioritize the limited funds that we have.
Great. And the way the sidewalk is now on our street that comes into our development, it kind of just goes to nowhere. So would it be connected to the street and kind of cleaned up?
It's going to have a little ADA ramp out onto the street as it first comes into the new to your section of the subdivision.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, I think we're in the middle of a roll call vote, so I think Fred, I think Fred had voted,
Yes,
right?
I did.
and then Nick.
Did you have a second? Did Fred second it?
Yes. I provided.
Yeah. I think Fred seconded and voted, but we can do it again.
Okay. Fred Monaco, aye. You want to vote or you want me to? Yeah, Katie.
Vote. I think we've established that you seconded. So Fred.
Okay. Okay. Fred Monaco, aye.
All right, Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Scott,
Scott DeCastro, aye.
Katie O'Donnell, aye. I'm just having Scott vote on everything. Is that okay?
Well, I think this one he was supposed to,
All right.
because it is a
I feel like it's
special
more
permit.
inclusive, Scott. If we didn't need your vote, it'll just be bonus points, I guess. So.
Appreciate it.
I don't want to leave you out of anything. All right, so that crosses off that agenda item. And so now we'll go to 937 Webster Street, which is a continued special permit hearing. I know we had continued it without any discussion the last time it came up. And so tonight will be like the presentation and discussion of it. And so this is a special permit request. They want to do residential above. And so is there someone here to present that?
Yes, Brian Taylor here.
Okay.
And
All right.
Bob
Okay.
Gagnon is also with me, the property owner. Greg, would you like me to start with the existing condition plan, Greg?
It should be up.
Good man. So I think we're all familiar with this property. Half of my office eats at Haymark every day at lunchtime. So the property consists of 11,225 square feet at the corner of the former Snow Road and Webster Street. There's a small residence on the front of the property, 937. That right now has a vacant first floor office area that Bobby's been attempting to lease for years with little success. And it has an existing second floor, two-bedroom apartment. Then at the big building we're all familiar with, 937 rear is Haymarket. The ground floor is the whole Haymarket supermarket and business, everything associated with it. The second floor is presently vacant. It actually, when this building was first built, it used to be the local state welfare office. And it was staffed with 15 to 20 people and would probably have as many people come and go on a daily basis back in the day. I think we might be the first ones to be coming under the new bylaw that you guys devised for the second floor apartments. So we're pretty excited about it. The existing conditions, as you can see, I think everybody's familiar with Snow Road. Some years ago when we redesigned Snow Road and we moved it to align with Marshfield Plaza East, this part of Snow Road was proposed to be abandoned. The town they never quite got around to doing all the requisite paperwork and taking a vote to abandon it. So it's in its present status, it was to have an access and parking easement of 3,383 square feet for the benefit of the abutters, being Bob's property and Paul Kaufman's property to the south, which is a condominium. Paul is one of the three owners in that condominium. So unfortunately, that paperwork was never quite done by the town. So historically, the spaces that are being used by the patrons of the Haymarket are those that are in the front of the building in the town parking lot area, including the 5 spaces, including the handicap space right up against the sidewalk, and then the spaces directly opposite that. As we all know, the parking is in transition on a daily basis down there. When Haymarket closes, they keep regular business hours. When they close, then the local restaurants tend to occupy the space. The buildings to the north, the retail buildings to the north, the newest strip, that they have their patron parking. As you can see, we showed the patron parking, and then the employees also use the town parking lot, as does everyone else who has frontage on the town parking lot as you move westerly, and including the other town parking lot across the street. So the existing condition, we're not dramatically changing. Greg, could we go to the developed site plan? Thank you. So there's no physical footprint change to either of the two buildings, but save for the removal of some that'll be moot once we accomplish the renovations of the property. Again, that the existing marketplace is to remain in business in the same footprint that it presently has, about 2,800 square feet. We are required by the bylaw, as you know, for any of the new proposed residential uses, we're required to have the parking on site. So with the square footage and that we're proposing, the residential parking requires 10 spaces on site. Those 10 spaces have been provided at the rear of the building, just almost adjacent to the building. There's 7 spaces. And then on the property, there were three spaces next to 437. That satisfies the requirement in the bylaw that we provide the required residential parking on site. The retail parking requires a total of 6.8 spaces, and we're just showing the 11 historical spaces that we use, and the basis fluctuating with all the other uses, which works pretty well, actually, pretty seamlessly. So the level of improvements that we're doing is there'll be 2 proposed 3-bedroom apartments on the 2nd floor of Haymarket. Those will have access there's an existing staircase that has an exterior entrance. Yep, right there, Greg. And then there'll be a common stair and hall, and then 2 nice, large 3-bedroom apartments. Then on the expansion or the change, I should say, on 937, the small building, we're proposing on floor plans there to just convert what is now an existing second floor apartment. We'll make that, we're going to convert the whole building to a 2-bedroom use, 2-bedroom single-family residential use. As I said, Bobby has been unable to satisfactorily market that small office space. We did also show on the developed site plan 3 spaces in the old Snow Road parking area. Those are labeled employee parking. Those are historically used by the employees at Haymarket and building as we know it. The dry cleaner and another fellow what's he doing?
He does like T-shirts and
he does
things like that.
T-shirt graphics and that type of thing. They both park behind one another in that area where we show the southerly of those 3 spaces. They park end to end there. So we have designated a loading area, a loading zone, which will be striped out. We're going to repave that whole parking area. We're not really changing anything substantially with grades or drainage patterns, but we're going to repave the whole back parking area, and that will designate a loading zone crosshatch with painting on the pavement. We're also there had been a prior proposal on the south side of the building where it abuts the Snow Road layout, there had been a proposal to add a sidewalk to access this back parking space. We do not show that on the plan, largely because as I said, the abandonment thing was never quite completed. The mission wasn't completed. So we'd be proposing to build a sidewalk on town-owned land. And we'd rather not have to get into the abyss of what's required to do that. We would be happy to stripe a 4-foot wide passageway on the pavement, which again, that'll be new pavement. You can see there is an existing if you move the cursor just to the left, Greg, to the other corner of that building, that pavement area right there works as a temporary staging area. So right now, if we have a delivery coming and there's a truck backed up to the loading zone, which is in the same location as it's presently being used, then another truck can pull off a Snow Road and say, oh, okay, there's already someone there. He can back into that space and just actively wait until the truck's clear. It works out great in practice because then people aren't backing rigs out onto Snow Road on the corner of the road. So it really works out well. As far as the improvements to the actual layout, you can see that we'll be providing some new curbing in a common outside common area, an outdoor common area, which is required as part of the bylaw. Adjacent to that, we'll be providing a 12-inch Cape Cod berm.
Brian, did we lose you?
Okay.
Brian? Brian, I think we lost you.
Still shows him as being there, but
Yeah.
Building's been there 50
Hi, we're back.
okay.
You
I
were
don't know
talking
how-
about the Cape Cod berm. That's when we didn't hear you anymore.
I was talking about the witches that are chasing us here, I think. So that Cape Cod berm we're providing as a backstop for the parking spaces opposite it and to contain the same drainage patterns that we have on site. You can see there's a fenced common area where we'll have a fire pit, 2 trees, shade trees, and 2 benches to service the occupants of both of the buildings. There's also going to be a concrete pad and solid 6-foot 8x8 fenced dumpster enclosure. So we'll be putting that in there, and that's right now we have our dumpsters are a little bit haphazard, so we're looking forward to cleaning that up and hiding them in a nice enclosure. So I think that's really the meat and potatoes of it. Certainly I can address any questions. Oh, the other thing, Greg, is on the photographs. Would you please post the photos? So what we had done is we debriefed Bobby as to what he was planning on doing for his architectural improvements. He realizes, of course, the building is, served its term and it's tidy and needs some tidying up and some work. So we have photographs of the whole perimeter of the properties, the buildings, and details of installing new windows and trim and siding, repairing the overhang in the front of the building, painting all the railings and buildings to match, repairing the front entry. So on each respective drawing, each respective photograph of a building elevation, we've shown what's going to be done to improve the nature of the property. And on the licensing agreement, Greg, I went to see if I could find anything where someone else had done that because I thought it might, help facilitate the process. Bob did the right thing and he approached the selectman's office and we submitted the information and then we did a follow-up probably a week and a half ago now, maybe 2. But I know Bobby Galvin's really busy. Everyone's busy. So I wasn't able to find any other licensing agreements for use of town parking. I know I pulled all the jobs that we've done. And it was just, we annotated the use of the parking and everybody recognizes it's mutual shared parking. And this one works really seamlessly. So I don't know what to do in that venue because, if we could seize a document and say, okay, great, let me give it to town, we'll give it to our own council and have them draft something, then it would make it easy.
Brian, the LLC to the north of you where Station 8 and the rest of those uses are,
Okay.
they have, I believe, a license agreement for the entire town lot.
Okay. Well, how can they do that?
Oh,
'Cause, but under the bylaw, we're allowed to use spaces within
it
300.
is not exclusive, but
Oh,
they have a license. So what I was trying to tell you is that
good. Okay.
that's a license agreement to look at, to utilize, because I
Oh, then-
checked with the selectman's office this afternoon and they had not seen anything yet, so.
Oh, that'd be great. I wasn't able to find that. Is it something on record, do you think?
Karen?
I think it's on record, on file with the selectman's office. It wasn't a recorded thing. And in fact, I think Bob Galvin may have worked on it prior to being town council, but I'm not completely sure on that. I
Okay.
have a draft, I have a copy that's not signed.
Oh, that's great. That'd be great. If I could trouble you for that, that'd be super. So we tried to, we showed the spaces, I showed the spaces that when I pull in to have my lunch there, I know where I park. I park on the side opposite the parking aisle from the front. I leave the ones across the front for the people who are in and out. So, we only have to use 6.8 spaces, I guess. So we leave that up to you guys, how you feel. If you want us to limit it to show 7 of those spaces, then we can certainly do that. We're still in compliance.
I think your parking numbers included the dentist office though. So I think your number was a little too high for retail anyway.
Parking. First floor area, 2,800 square feet. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because it's first floor office. Yeah, 1.2. So really would need 6.
6 is what we were thinking you were going to need.
Yep.
Are you all set, Brian?
I think so. Unless anyone has any questions, be happy to address them.
I have a few questions, but Greg, is there anything that you'd like to discuss or?
Sure. I'll just hold on one second. Screen.
Will it shut us off so they could vote?
No, I don't think so. It shouldn't.
All right. So as Brian, I was just showing the area. You can see the yellow outline of the property. The pavement out front here and the pavement on the side. The front is town property. This pavement off to the side is the 1899 Ocean's Gate LLC. That's the LLC I was mentioning earlier, Brian.
Yep.
The red stars show where the door for the apartments upstairs would be. This is the area currently between the 2 buildings. And you can see behind the Jeep, the white Jeep, there's a large kind of partially screened in dumpster area. This is the same area looking from the back entrance to Station 8. This is a single family house. And the property lines kind of straddles that curb, a little bit on both sides. This is the former right-of-way that was closed off. The town has put in a new sidewalk with granite curbing and stuff, so we won't get cars, and they took down the Jersey barriers. Under previous special permits that were granted by the Board of Appeals for both this property and Paul Kaufman's property, it was talked about being landscaped and stuff and maintained by the 2 businesses. By having this seeded and mowed and stuff, it would add to the green space. The current parking and loading dumpsters, the new dumpster location is 5 feet from the house. The old one was 20 feet, even though it doesn't look it from this photo. It was actually 20 feet from the single family house. The proposed dumpster location is kind of tough to get to because you got that 24-inch high concrete planter over here. So it makes it very difficult for a garbage truck to come in this way. So the garbage truck would basically have to come in through the other side and back all the way in. So we're suggesting that the dumpster location needs to be rethought. The 3 employee parking spaces at the back that Brian had mentioned, you can see the pickup truck and the other car, they park in tandem on one of the spots. The other 2 spots are currently not open, as we have already mentioned with Brian and stuff. They need to get their parking agreement and to make sure both of those buildings are okay with whatever they come up with their license agreement. The loading door for the downstairs business is right here. This is the old snow road in the front. You can see on the photograph to the left, this is the current sidewalk cuts across here, Snow Road, but it does not come along the side here. It just goes over the business. So staff is recommending that the sidewalk get extend it out to the end of the curb here with a handicap ramp and then stripe a crosswalk here, and that would give us a connection all the way over to Webster Street. And the area that Brian had talked about for having trucks wait for loading was going to tighten that up a little and maybe either make that an employee space or a parking space. The other thing is maybe that's where the dumpster goes to, depending on what they want to end up doing with site improvements. This is the town parking lot that Brian was mentioning. You can see the buildings to the north is that 1988 LLC, Ocean Gate LLC. What was surprising is at 9:20 in the morning, the parking lot was entirely full. And there were a lot of people coming out of those buildings for classes and stuff. And there seemed to be shifts and stuff. So as Brian mentioned, during the day, there's at almost any time, there's a new group of users pressing the demand on the parking lot. So the Haymarket building is more a lunch and early afternoon, early evening type of thing. And then Station 8 kind of takes over. Levitate even takes over sometimes on the parking in the evenings. You do have a couple of other restaurants in that yoga place. So that's kind of on the site plans. So the things that staff was suggesting that we take a little more look at is, one, we've had questions about the building. And Brian, we've learned the lesson here at Town Hall. We're kind of interested in the live load after talking to the building commissioner requirements for the second floor for the new use. As we found for the Selectmen's Chamber meeting room upstairs here, it's going to take some rehabilitation and some additional steel to support the new weight requirements for the second floor. The second thing that we'd like you guys to think about is the number of bedrooms, and that has a direct correspondence on parking, the number of parking spaces that you need. So you're showing 2-3 bedrooms. If they were with 1 bathroom, we were thinking maybe it should be more 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms or whatever, but by reducing the number of bedrooms to 2 to each of those units on the Haymarket building, we could drop the parking requirement down and then possibly redesign that back area to enlarge the green space in between the buildings. You could have 4 parking spaces on either side, the Snow Road side and the Ocean Gate LLC side. You would have room for the dumpster and stuff. So it's something to think about. Also, you mentioned that the lighting is going to meet the zoning requirements, but there is no information on the lighting. Was it wall pack? Is there lights on poles or whatever what you were thinking of? So I think is there anything I'm missing, Karen? So on the staff side,
we haven't heard from the abutter, like the 3 spaces that they're showing in the middle. Is that still shared with 933? Or is that completely for 937?
We were intending it to continue the way it is, shared. Those same folks park that same car and same truck there every day. And our people usually use the other 2 spaces. Seems to work for everyone.
It's been like that for years.
So I guess question on the parking then, because currently into that parking easement, there's what, 3.5 spaces shown in that proposed plan? Is that right? So is that an additional parking space that's being proposed?
I'm sorry. So we showed the 3 existing spaces.
right here.
You still have me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hold on, Greg. We lost. We just see your desktop.
Oh, it's the wrong screen. Oh, all right. Is that better?
Yeah.
So these are the 3 spaces. Sorry.
Right. So those are, we just basically show them as what the existing, how their existing uses. is, and we are, as Karen pointed out, I mean, we're strong on the numbers of spaces that we're showing for the retail use. So we can afford to reduce that, but those ones have historically been utilized by the two properties.
Right. And in the ZBA approval for both of those properties back in, I think, 2007, there was supposed to be an agreement between both properties to share that, and that was never submitted either.
I don't know, it's kind of, the problem we have there is that the town was supposed to abandon the way. And then
No, it wasn't supposed to be abandoned. That's why it's set aside as an easement for those properties to use, but there was supposed to be an agreement.
Right, an agreement, right. I'm sorry, so was the agreement?
To use that they were told by the ZBA to submit an agreement to share those spaces.
Was the easement, I didn't find the easement on record for the plan that we had done for when we did Brian Curtis's work for that 3,800 square foot easement, 3,300 square foot easement. So in essence, that doesn't exist. I mean, we could.
Well, it exists by being on the accepted town plan for the street.
But it was never, unless you have an instrument of easement, you can show anything, but unless you have an instrument of easement, it's never been defined. So
Right, well, then it's just town land because it was confined as part of an A&R to the existing parking lot. So
Okay.
that is now one large parcel.
Okay. Okay, well, we can certainly work on an easement with Paul.
Right.
Not changing.
We just want to make sure that the two parties are okay with each other.
Sure. Okay,
And Brian, while I have the site plan up, so when I was talking about the number of bedrooms for the rear or Haymarket building, if you had only 2 bedrooms in that for each of those units, you could have 4 here and 4 up here, and that allows the whole middle to be, a green space between the 2 buildings, and you could shift over that sitting area and other.
so are you thinking like 3 or 4 2-bedroom units?
So you would have the house with 2 bedrooms and then 2 2-bedroom units upstairs on the Haymarket building instead of 2 3-bedroom units.
That would leave a lot of real estate in that upstairs.
Well, you'd have larger rooms or you could have an office or, other things.
Okay, well, why don't we'll visit that.
Yep.
Yeah, that was one of my questions as well, was, I think Greg had brought up like the building. I just wanted to make sure that the building could support, that number, that type of residence and all of the load bearing things that go along with that. And then also because like 3-bedroom units, I think that then you're talking, more people, and where this is in downtown, and just like looking at the outside areas as well, just making sure, like, as you said, this is kind of an exciting, the first use of this change to the bylaw to allow residential. And we just want to make sure that it's going to be, that it's successful for everyone involved. So I think that, a lot of the things that everybody else has mentioned too, I think like currently where the dumpster is and that kind of planted barrier, I think that is kind of awkward. And I'd like to see if that couldn't be moved around. But I think that all my concerns have been mentioned by others as well. I don't know if anybody else from the board has any questions.
I'm good right now. Thanks, Katie.
Is there anyone from the public, any abutters here? All right.
I may, hopefully on the floor, I suspect it won't be an issue, but we'll have to verify, of course. When it was the welfare office, it's steel supported, steel reinforced concrete second floor. And it had 15 to 20 employees. So I think we'll probably be okay, but we'll get some documentation on that.
Yeah, I never knew that. That was surprising
Yeah.
to me. A lot of people. All right. So I think, and then also like for you and for us to look at that, those licensing agreements for both the town parking lot and for the former Snow Road. I think we want to take a look at that.
Yeah,
Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about right now, or I'm leaning towards continuing this to our next meeting, which I don't know.
July 24th.
Do we have anything else that night, or would it be?
Nope, it's at the moment it's completely open.
Okay. We could do like 7:05.
Brian, is that enough time for you to think over things and get back to us?
Yeah, if I could maybe ask for some help on getting that stuff from the selectmen. I didn't know that that was out there. That'd be great. You probably get it faster than I can.
Okay.
All right, so that I'll make a motion to continue this hearing to Monday, July 24th at 7:05 PM. Is there a second? Oh, Fred, I think you're muted.
Sorry.
Sorry, you have
Mike,
to
can
say
you
it.
hear me now?
Yep. So make a second, Fred. Oh, he muted himself again.
All right.
Good thing you were muted for that one.
Okay.
All right, so Fred, second it. What are
You're
you doing?
muted again, Fred.
All right, let Scott second it.
Yes.
I shouldn't touch this now.
All right, now we can hear Fred. So motion by Katie, seconded by Scott. Roll call vote, Fred.
Fred Monaco.
Scott?
Yeah, second, Scott DeCastro.
Oh, and then roll call. What's your vote?
Scott DeCastro, aye.
Nick?
Nick Papastratus, aye.
And Katie O'Donnell, aye. All right. And we got Fred finally, right? We've clarified that.
Yep.
Good. Okay, thanks. All right, and thank you. So I think we've got some stuff to work on, but we'll have what we need for the next meeting. All right.
Yep.
So thank you. And so with that, the next item on our agenda are board and staff reports.
Yep.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
So on our side, we've been working on wrapping up last year's CZM, and we have are in the process of filing this year for CZM for funds to match town funds that we've already have from town meeting to put actual material finally on the beach in Green Harbor. That's been a long haul to get that far, but the hope is the state will fund the grant, and this winter we will be having beach nourishment finally on Bay Ave. We are working, we had a few comments on the economic development plan. Karen and I going through that, then we'll talk with Josh and we'll get that wrapped up shortly as well. As I mentioned last time, I did draft language for the change to the floodplain to address the two Lomar changes that FEMA has sent to us. One of them's already in effect. The other one starts on August 10th, I believe. And I am in the process of working on the MBTA communities bylaw changes still as well. That is scheduled for next April's town meeting. Karen, is there anything else I should be mentioning?
Sorry, Fred, can you repeat that? I'm sorry, Greg, can you repeat that last piece?
The MBTA communities draft.
Okay.
That would be for, we're working on it still, and that will be ready for April's town meeting.
Okay. With respect to town meeting, are we gonna have a discussion about the revised accessory unit language?
We were gonna have it wrapped into the MBTA communities.
Okay.
But if you guys wanted.
Greg, I got an important call coming from New York from my off.
Okay,
Oh, well, then we need to end because then we're not a real meeting otherwise. So
so do the minutes and let's take a vote on the minutes if you guys can before you leave, Fred.
Okay.
motion.
So make a motion.
Do
Fred.
they approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Sure.
Katie O'Donnell, aye. Is that, I feel like everybody was talking over it. I'm not sure who said what.
I think Fred motioned and seconded.
Yep.
So should I second him?
Yes.
All right, Katie O'Donnell, second. And then I'll do myself. Katie O'Donnell, aye. Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Scott,
Scott DeCastro, aye.
Fred,
There we go. Close enough.
All right. Nick, I will work on that and get back to you if you guys want, but the intention was that we were going to put it in the MBTA communities
Okay.
as part of that package.
All right.
All right.
Thanks. Sorry, Karen. I didn't mean to step on
That's
you.
okay. But now that Fred's gone, we don't have a legit meeting anymore. So I guess time to adjourn.
yeah, so I guess can we even, we'll motion to adjourn anyway.
Right.
And vote. So I'll make the motion to adjourn and roll call vote. Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Scott,
Scott DeCastro, aye.
Katie O'Donnell, aye.